Cardinals, in case you missed it last night, went with defense, doubled down, tripled down, quadrupled down, whatever you want to call it. Went with Walter Nolen. We just had his introductory press conference there live, and sounds like we're going to be talking to him here shortly as well. Wolf, is there any way they go defense again in the second round?
Yeah, I think there's
I love it.
What, Will Johnson? If Will Johnson is
How
there.
is he still out there? I know
even with his knee, the word that is out there right now in regard to him with a little tweaked knee, there's got to be bigger concern there for him to drop out of the first round.
What is that stuff for? And I know obviously the teams knew about it, but for all the rumors and narratives around the NFL draft and months leading up to it, and certainly like the 2 weeks really ramping up to it. And Will Johnson's going to be a top 10 pick, or maybe he's number 12 or 14 or whatever. And all of a sudden, draft night hits. He doesn't go in the first round because he has a knee issue.
Yeah.
Like, where does that just come from? If he's still there at 47, I would be stunned. But I mean, before I knew about the knee issue, I wanted him in the first round. So, yeah, for sure.
You know, right now, what would I love to see them do? I don't know. I would love to see them get an offensive lineman, like an offensive guard. All right? Jonah from Arizona, of course.
Just so you can say Jonah from Arizona.
Jonah from Arizona. I would love that at right guard. You know, and this is a guy, the one thing about him, he's not very athletic, but he is physical. Okay, you got my attention right now. Again, I'm not too worried. I'm not really concerned about a guy. Oh, he's got to have great feet. He's got to be so good, especially when you're talking about playing inside. I mean, to me, again, give me somebody who's ready to brawl. And I mean that metaphorically, based on he's on the field.
I'm just looking at some of the players that are, considered some of the top ones available. Ariante Ursary, who we brought up last night because AQ Shipley brought him up on the show when we had him on yesterday morning.
Yeah, that means a lot to me.
He's out there as a tackle if they wanted to go tackle. If you go tackle, then I'm assuming you're asking that guy to play guard this year and then move him out to tackle. That's why Kelvin Banks Jr., I think, was so enticing to a team like the Cardinals, but he was gone in the top 10. But that's certainly another name you could look at up front for the Cardinals if they go that way. Jonah from Arizona, as you mentioned. Right now, he's the top-ranked guard out there on ESPN. I am a little interested at receiver. We can get more into that here in a few moments, but receiver's an interesting spot. We mentioned Luther Burden III earlier. Jalen Knoll is out there. There's a lot of receivers out there. I definitely went into this offseason wanting them to get a veteran receiver because they have young receivers, but, that maybe is past and maybe they'll go that way in the draft. All right, joining us right now, though, Wolf, on the Arizona Sports Line is the newest member of the Arizona Cardinals, Walter Nolen. Walter, congratulations on being a first-round pick, man. How you doing?
I appreciate it, man. I'm doing good. What about you?
Doing good.
Doing good, Walter. Really appreciate your time right now.
Man, appreciate y'all giving me the time.
I wanted to ask you, because you've mentioned this a couple times, that the Cardinals really stood out to you during the draft process. You had a quote yesterday that they seemed like they were interested in actually getting to know you. Just how important was that to you?
It was very important to me. I'm a very relationship type of person. And that's really how I feel like that's the foundation of everything, having a good relationship with people. Yeah, from the start of me talking to them, it was great, honestly.
So when you look at JG, what are your thoughts in regard to Jonathan Gannon as your head coach?
Man, we finna play good defense. That's really what I've been thinking about, honestly. Coach JG, he gonna let that D-line play, and so I just can't wait to be a part of it.
Yeah, have you heard, Walter? Have you heard about his intensity, Jonathan Gannon, and the intensity that he has? Because it's one of the things I appreciate about him the most.
Yeah, I already done heard. He got that juice. He got that juice.
Was that evident just in talking with him, or did you already kind of know that about him before you met him?
Oh, yeah. As soon as I met him, I was like, oh, yeah, he for sure got that juice. Like, I always had said it, but now, yeah, he got that juice.
Yeah, so, Walter, if you're going to play anywhere across the defensive front, what is your favorite technique that you're going to play?
Honestly, my favorite technique would probably have to be either the 3 or the 5.
A 3 or the 5. Okay.
Yeah.
What do you love about that 3 technique specifically?
I like the 3 technique because you get to get your hands on one of those less athletic offensive linemen. You get to make them move a little bit more. The big boys, they don't like moving that much.
We're talking to Walter Nolen. Walter, you've been kind of labeled as one of, if not the best interior pass rushers in this draft. I just wanted to get your thoughts on why you have been so good at that so far and how you think that'll translate to the NFL.
Really just trying to get better at it every day, honestly. Just trying to work on my craft and, instead of being a jack of all trades, I want to be the master of some, and all that takes is, preparation and work every day.
So what would you say are your strengths, Walter? What are your strengths?
I would say my strengths would probably be my explosiveness. I feel like I'm a very twitchy athlete. Also, I'm a physical athlete. And I would say my motor, for real. Like, I'm a very competitive person. So, like, yeah, I feel like at this level, it's just going to bring it out of me even more.
We're talking to Walter Nolen. Walter, were there players that you looked up to when you were growing up that you either modeled your game after or just that you kind of wanted to play football because of them?
Really, I always wanted to play football just because of the sport, honestly. I feel like it's the best sport in America. just being a little biased. But players I looked up to, probably Chris Jones, Calais Campbell, Dexter Lawrence, Aaron Donald, and let's go on forever.
Wow. Okay, so Calais Campbell, he's a friend of mine personally, a guy that I have so much regard and respect for. What do you know of Calais Campbell, Walter?
All I know is Calais a dog. He an OG. He been doing this for a long time at a high level, and and any type of person like that, I'm trying to be around them. I'm trying to figure out what they doing.
Walter, what do you think about the fact that Calais is going into year 18 in the NFL? That's almost unheard of.
Man, like I said, he an OG. He an OG. I can't wait to get around him and get some of that wisdom.
So, Walter, I asked you what your strengths were. Where do you think you need to get better?
Oh, I need to get better in all the small details of the game, honestly, and just working on my craft every day and making sure I'm consistent throughout the game with my pad level and my hand usage. And really, just overall, just becoming a better football player every day, for real.
Walter, you got drafted to a team that has really leaned in on defense this offseason. They've really made that a priority. So you're going to be a part of a pretty exciting defense that has some good young players like Darius Robinson and yourself, but also some vets too. Just what's it like to end up on a team like that that's focused on defense right now?
Man, I'm a defensive guy. Once again, I'm a little biased, but hey, I love defense, man. I can't wait. I can't wait.
I played a long time ago, 10 years in the NFL, Walter. Played a long, long time ago, back when they had wedges. And one of the things I love most about the game of football was running full speed into a guy who was 350 pounds, hitting him right in the chin. That was so liberating at that point in time. Why do you love the game of football?
Man, really just the violence aspect part of, the league, they trying to make it a little bit more softer, but football is still going to be football. They can only do so much without taking the game away as a whole.
Well, Walter, we appreciate this, man. Again, congratulations on being a first-round pick. We look forward to talking to you again soon, all right?
Thank you, brother.
Thank you, man. Thank you.
All right, that's Walter Nolen joining us right there on the Arizona Sports Line, the Cardinals' first-round pick. It was interesting what he said there at the end. That last answer is maybe a window into why Jonathan Gannon was like, I like this guy, right? Play with violence, and they can try and take that out of the game, but it's still going to be football. So that was interesting, and the fact that he looked up to Calais Campbell growing up, and now he's going to be on his team. I haven't done the math on how old Walter Nolen was when Calais Campbell broke into the league, but what was he, about 3, 4? When Calais Campbell broke in? That's crazy.
He'd be 3 years old. That is awesome right there, honestly. And the fact that he named Calais Campbell as one of the guys that he he is watched and one of the guys that he's looked up to right now. We were talking about this earlier, but man, I could see Calais Campbell from day one with Darius Robinson and Walter Nolen following him around.
Yeah.
And that is exactly what I hope will happen here, because I know Calais personally. I know the type of guy that he is, and I think most of us know him, not only because he's played 18 years in the league, but also because he played right here for 10 years. And we know who he is and what he's like. And because of that, I think it'd be a great thing for those two guys to follow him around.
Yeah, that's a good point. You know Calais really well. I think a lot of Cardinals fans, you feel like you know him just from all the years you've watched him play and you've heard him be interviewed, but you do know him very well on a personal level. What do you think he is like? What do you think some of the first things are that he's going to say to a guy like Walter or Darius Robinson, just about like life in the NFL and how to ideally have an 18, maybe even more year career like he does?
Yeah, you got to take care of your body, man. You have to take care of it. And I know it's a cliche. Everybody talks about it, Luke. You've got to take care of your body because that's your money maker, whatever it is. But you really have to understand that if you want a long career, you've got to get in the weight room. You've got to keep yourself very active. You can't have these long periods of inactivity. And I think we've seen some football players really struggle with having long periods of inactivity where they put on an awful lot of weight. And doesn't appear to be a situation at all for Walter Nolen in putting on weight. But you've got to put yourself through the paces in the off season to take care of your body. You can't have long periods of inactivity.
Yeah, that's going to be certainly one of the storylines to watch throughout training camp. I think we're all going to kind of be looking to see if he and Darius Robinson are just following Calais around. There's really, I can't think of a better guy to learn from because Calais has pretty much seen everything, and he has that versatility that they're looking for from Walter Nolen and Darius Robinson. Remember, there was a big storyline around him when they drafted him last year at the end of the first round that they like his versatility too, and they can move him around as well. So we've got the second round coming up tonight, Wolf, and we're going to get back into this a little bit after the break too. But is there anybody out there in particular that you're just like yeah, that's if he's there at 47, that's who I want. I mentioned Luther Burden III. That's a guy really you put that thought in my mind a couple days ago. Because he kind of forgot about him. I kind of forgot him. I remember him from college, and I remember him going into last season, and certainly the year before, he was one of the most prolific receivers in the nation, and he was still good last year. I kind of don't expect him to be there at 47, but at the same time, there's a few receivers out there, and that's not necessarily a position that you are guaranteed to see a run on here in the second round. So maybe he would be there at 47.
Yeah, I said this earlier, but Jonah Savilinea, okay? Now, again, that's not how he pronounces it, okay? But I've heard a lot of people pronounce his name that way, Savilinea, okay?
If they draft him, are you going to text Pash and taunt him that he's going to have to say his name in the broadcast and you don't?
Yes, at some point. But David will absolutely have it down and nail it.
Probably already has it.
But, honestly, I like his game. I like the fact he's a big guy, 6'5", 335 pounds. That's what I like at right guard, knowing Will Hernandez, who knows what's going to happen with Will when he comes back. Hey, we'll put him over to left guard. We'll move him over there. There's nothing wrong with that, having two war daddies going at it, if he's healthy, of course. But I'd like to see that. Will Johnson is somebody we also talked about. He's got a knee issue. You have to wonder how severe that is. He's dropped out of the first round, but man, can you really watch a corner like that go by you at 47? I don't know. It all depends what the medical report says.
Yeah, I mean, that would have to be more than just he tweaked his knee or whatever, which is kind of what it sounds like, is he tweaked his knee. That's not enough. Maybe that's enough to drop him out of the first round because it scares teams off because you really can't afford to miss on your first round pick. But I got to think that's a weird one, Wolf, because I would have been willing to make an exception. Like, I didn't really want the Cardinals to take a corner, but if Will Johnson was there, then it's like, okay, this guy is so good, you might have to look at it. But where it's weird is, like, I would assume he goes pretty early tonight. If he's somehow still there at 47, aren't you like, okay, wait, what's going on? Like, how bad is that knee injury? Nick Scoughton's another name that had been mocked to the Cardinals a decent amount. He's still out there in the second round. And obviously Mike Green. I got to think Mike Green's probably one of the first names off the board tonight.
Yeah, here's the one thing that is a little interesting about Will Johnson. I wonder how serious this might actually be. Because once again, just on the outside looking in, here's a guy that should have gone in the first round, by all accounts. Maybe even the first half of the first round. And now he's dropped out. And when you drop out, you only have 4 years now with this guy, as opposed to 5 if you draft him in the first round. And if it wasn't that serious, maybe somebody would say, hey, we got 5 years with him. We got 5. And we don't need him to come in right now and contribute because maybe we're good. Maybe we're the Philadelphia Eagles. Maybe we're sitting there at 31.
That's funny you say that exactly. Like those 32. Teams at the end of the first round.
Exactly right.
I was like, Buffalo. Would Buffalo take them, right? I mean, they took a corner.
We just won the Super Bowl, and we believe in corners. Maybe we'll just go ahead and draft him in the first round, knowing we got 5 years with him, and we'll get this knee right.
Maybe we need to call Buffalo because they took a corner, so they obviously felt like that was a need, and they passed on Will Johnson at the end of the first round. So maybe they know they took Maxwell Hairston, who, by the way, was like the happiest guy at the draft last night. He was just happy for everybody at the draft. It was great.
Thanks for watching Wolf and Luke. Tap to see more and click the button in the middle to subscribe to Arizona Sports.